What even is a dependent? Watch this video and find out. Hi, I'm Alison Eddings. I am a CPA in private tax practice with over 20 years of experience. Welcome to my channel. I make these videos in part to help, hopefully, one of these days, wouldn't it be great if you didn't need somebody like me? Like if you were just, an ordinary taxpayer who just had a W-2 and just got married, and you could do this on your own and you didn't need me. So that's kind of my goal for this channel in part, and also to inspire my fellow small business owners too. But this video today is about what dependents are. It's a big subject, which has lots of weird complications and lots of if this, then maybe that. So I'm going to give you some generalizations, and I'm referring to a little book here, a giant book here actually, with lots of tax code in it, just to make sure that I don't skip any important parts. Dependents are people who they have to live in your home, but there's going to be so many buts, but so many of these don't apply to you. But let's say your child was kidnapped, God forbid, your child could still qualify as a dependent. So when I say your dependent has to live in your home more than half of the year, and I'm going to say if you are going through a divorce, big but there. That really, the IRS will lean more on the divorce decree than IRS rules about dependency, residency, and things like that. So that's something that you and your ex will want to agree on. But your dependent can't be a dependent on anybody else's return. So if you have a 5-year-old and you don't live with the 5-year-old's other parent, you can't both claim that child. A married person can't be claimed as a dependent. I had an employee actually who was a dependent of her parents all year long and got married at the end of the year, and she's like, I'm not a dependent anymore. No, because she got married right before the end of the year. If you are married on New Year's Eve, assuming it's before midnight, then you cannot be a dependent because you're a married person. Let's see, you have to have a particular relationship, but I want to put a big caveat in these relationships because we don't want to exclude any kind of foster children. Definitely see a professional if you have foster children or other unique circumstances where you are providing more than half the support and more than half the time was spent with you. But the relationship has to be a son, daughter, stepson, stepdaughter, or descendant. So it could be your stepdaughter's child, which is your grandchild. It could be your son's son, who is your grandchild. But we're going to go back to the dependency test. It could be a brother or a sister, a stepbrother or stepsister. Generally, I don't even want to say generally, I was going to say first line right next to you, like brother, sister, mother, daughter, but your grandchildren can qualify as well. The dependent has to be younger than you. I actually had a case that was kind of weird where somebody adopted, I don't even know how it happened, adopted somebody who was technically older than her, didn't make that individual a dependent. They were both they weren't young people. It's not like it was an 18-year-old adopting a 19-year-old, nothing like that. But even if that were the case, the adopted 19-year-old would not be a dependent. The taxpayer or the individual has to be under the age of 24 if a full-time student. If not a full-time student, must be under 19. Have to live with you more than half the year. You have to provide more than half of the support, which doesn't necessarily, that's not a set figure. Golly gee, there's, probably people that would look at the support test for my children and go, like they're definitely not getting a whole lot of support from me, but they do get half of the support. But I'm not paying college bills or anything like that. It'll be a different thing when I'm paying for their college. That support test will change. Let's see, the gross income generally has to be less than the exemption amount. But as you know, with TICTA, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we don't have exemptions anymore. So that number for 21 is 4,300. So the individual's gross income has to be less than that exemption amount, 4,300. But even then, there's some, again, we go back to the support test. If you as a parent are providing $20,000 worth of support for a child that needs $30,000 to live, but they make $4,000 of it or $5,000 of it, let's say, in working part-time, that doesn't necessarily preclude them from being a dependent anymore. And I know maybe this goes without saying, but the dependent, because I covered that in the first point, the dependent cannot be the qualifying child of somebody else. So like I said, with the two parents can't claim the same child. So those are the main important factors, but generally what you're going to see is that your dependent is going to be your child or stepchild or grandchild or possibly your parent. If it's your parent or your aunt or your uncle or somebody like that and they're living in assisted living, talk to a professional. And if that professional tells you, no, absolutely not going to be a dependent, you need to talk to somebody else because there is wiggle room there. I consider it to be very similar to when you have a child that goes away to college. That child does not necessarily live with you, but they're still your dependent sometimes because they see the doctor in your hometown. They come home to be with you for holidays and things. If you have an aunt in assisted living in your area where you live and you're the one that picks her up from the assisted living facility outside of COVID. I know COVID times are weird, but ordinarily you would pick up your aunt and take her to the doctor's office. She might be your dependent, provided support tests and other things are met. Just because she lives in a nursing facility doesn't mean she wouldn't be your dependent, doesn't preclude it. But it's going to be somebody who lives in your home more than half the year, that you provide more than half the support for, who doesn't have earned income. Those are your dependents. Not your dog, not somebody, your roommate, not your roommate, not your girlfriend that lives with you, but you're not married to. Those kind of things are what would not be a dependent. So if this content was helpful, useful, informative, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to the channel, because that pushes it out to more people so that more people hopefully one of these days might not need to pay somebody just to comply with the tax laws of your government. That just blows my mind that we have to do this. But it is important because I tell you what, my goal last year was $1.5 million in tax savings for clients. I don't know if I hit it, didn't quite tally it at the end for what people took advantage of. But my goal is not for you to have to pay taxes. And if you're going to pay somebody like me, let's just consider it couponing. But hopefully you can push this content out to more and more people. But have a great day, and thanks so much for watching.